Florida, the Sunshine State, a place that has captured the imagination of millions of Americans for generations. Every single year, hundreds of thousands of people pack their lives into moving trucks, leave behind the cold winters of the Midwest, the crowded streets of the Northeast, the familiar comfort of wherever they called home, and they come here, chasing sunshine, chasing beaches, chasing what they believe will be a better, warmer, more beautiful life. And who can blame them? The promise of Florida is real. The weather is extraordinary. The coastlines are stunning. The tax advantages are legitimate. And in many corners of this state, opportunity still exists in abundance. But Florida has another side, one the brochures don't show you, one the real estate agents don't bring up at closing. A side made of flooded living rooms, skyrocketing insurance premiums, crime statistics that would make your stomach drop, and housing markets so unstable that the home you buy today could be worth significantly less tomorrow. In 2026, buying a home in the wrong Florida city isn't just a bad investment. It could be the single worst financial decision of your entire life. Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain. We've studied the data, we've looked at the crime reports, the flood maps, the insurance trends, and the economic forecasts. And we're bringing you the 10 Florida cities where, right now, you should think very carefully, or perhaps not at all, before signing on the dotted line. These are the 10 Florida cities you should never buy a home in. We begin in Daytona Beach, and on the surface, it sounds like a dream. Motorcycles roaring down the strip during Bike Week. NASCAR engines shaking the grandstands at Daytona International Speedway. Tourists flooding the boardwalk every spring break with money in their pockets and sun on their faces. But here's the thing about a city built on tourism. When the tourists leave, so does the economy. Daytona Beach has struggled for years with property crime rates that sit well above the national average. Local residents describe a city where the energy on the main strip hides the reality of the neighborhoods just a few blocks inland. Aging infrastructure, underfunded schools, a job market that is overwhelmingly seasonal, meaning that for large parts of the year, income becomes unpredictable for the people who actually live here year-round. And now, add the insurance crisis, gripping all of Florida into the equation. In Daytona Beach, homeowners are watching their annual premiums climb to levels that make ownership feel less like an asset and more like a liability. Many longtime locals aren't waiting around to see how things improve. They're leaving. And when the people who grew up in a city start heading for the exits, that's a signal worth paying attention to. Drive inland from the coast and you'll find Ocala, a city that has in recent years been marketed heavily as one of Florida's most affordable places to buy a home. And the listing prices? They look attractive. They look downright reasonable compared to what you'd pay in Tampa or Miami. But affordability is not the same thing as value. Ocala has experienced rapid population growth as buyers chase those lower price tags. And with that growth has come serious strain on roads, on water systems, on schools, on services that simply weren't built to handle this volume of new residents. Meanwhile, the local job market has not kept pace. Wages in the region remain modest. The industries anchoring the local economy are limited, and what that creates is a troubling equation: rising housing costs driven by demand, colliding with flat or stagnant income levels for the people who actually live and work there. New residents are discovering that cheap doesn't always mean smart. When your property taxes are climbing and your insurance bill arrives in January, suddenly that bargain doesn't feel quite so affordable anymore. Fort Myers is a city that learned a brutal lesson in recent years. When Hurricane Ian made landfall in September of 2022, it hit this region with catastrophic historic force. The images were devastating. Neighborhoods underwater, homes reduced to slabs, boats sitting in the middle of streets, lives, savings, and memories gone. Recovery has been slow, rebuilding costs have been staggering, and the insurance industry responded to this disaster not by stepping up, but by stepping out. Multiple major insurers either pulled out of Florida entirely or dramatically reduced their coverage footprint following Ian and the storms that came before it. For homeowners in Fort Myers today, finding affordable, adequate property insurance is not a minor inconvenience, it is a genuine crisis. Premiums for homes in flood-prone areas of the region have soared to levels that add thousands of dollars per year to the true cost of ownership. And the underlying geography has not changed. Fort Myers sits in a zone of significant climate vulnerability. The storms will come again. The flooding risk is not going anywhere. And buyers in 2026 need to ask themselves a very serious question before purchasing here. Am I prepared financially and emotionally for what this coastline is capable of? Few places in Florida look more peaceful than Pensacola. The white sand beaches of this panhandle city are genuinely among the most beautiful in the entire country. The water is clear, the pace of life feels slow and easy, and property prices, compared to South Florida, seem almost reasonable. But statistics don't care about aesthetics. Pensacola's crime rates, particularly property crime and certain categories of violent crime, sit above the national average in ways that concern both residents and researchers. Economic inequality within the city is significant. Certain neighborhoods experience concentrated poverty and the social challenges that accompany it. Job growth, while present in some sectors, remains inconsistent. For families considering a move to Pensacola, the beaches are real, the charm is real. But the homework needs to be done carefully, neighborhood by neighborhood, because the gap between Pensacola's best areas and its most troubled ones is wide, and the overall statistics carry a warning that shouldn't be ignored. Jacksonville is the largest city in the continental United States by land area. It sprawls across northeastern Florida in a way that is genuinely difficult to comprehend until you've driven across it. And with that size comes enormous diversity in neighborhoods, in culture, in economic conditions, and in risk. The challenge with Jacksonville is not that the entire city is troubled, it isn't. There are genuinely good neighborhoods, growing economic corridors, and areas of legitimate investment potential. The challenge is that Jacksonville's violent crime statistics, driven heavily by specific zip codes within the city, are serious. Certain areas of Jacksonville record homicide and aggravated assault rates that rank among the highest in the state of Florida. For buyers who don't do deep, granular neighborhood-level research, the sheer size of Jacksonville can disguise just how significant those disparities are. Infrastructure across such a large city is also a persistent challenge. Traffic congestion has grown as the population has expanded, and the investment required to modernize roads, public transit, and public services across Jacksonville's massive footprint is immense. Jacksonville can work, but buying here without extreme due diligence, street by street, block by block, is a gamble that many buyers have lost. Tampa has been one of the great American boom cities of the past decade. The economy diversified, young professionals arrived, tech companies, finance firms, and healthcare employers planted flags. The Riverwalk became a symbol of urban renewal. Home prices surged. And that surge is exactly what concerns experts heading into 2026. Tampa's housing market saw price increases that, in some segments, significantly outpaced income growth. The cost of living in Tampa today is a far cry from what it was even 5 years ago. Longtime residents, teachers, nurses, service workers, the people who make a city actually function, are being priced out of neighborhoods they've called home for decades. The question that economists and housing analysts are now asking seriously is whether the velocity of Tampa's appreciation has run ahead of its fundamentals. When prices rise faster than incomes, when affordability erodes dramatically, history tells us that corrections follow. They don't always come quickly, but they come. Buying at or near the peak of an overheated market is one of the oldest mistakes in real estate. And Tampa, as exciting as its trajectory has been, requires buyers in 2026 to enter with eyes wide open to that risk. Orlando welcomes tens of millions of visitors every single year. Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, the convention centers, the resort corridors. On paper, Orlando is an economic engine of enormous power. But the people who run that engine, the hospitality workers, the theme park employees, the hotel staff, the restaurant workers, are living in a city where housing costs have climbed to a point that makes their economic reality increasingly precarious. The Orlando metropolitan area has experienced dramatic rent and home price increases. The gap between what the tourism economy pays its workforce and what it costs to actually live in this market has widened into something that city planners and social researchers are increasingly alarmed by. For buyers considering Orlando as an investment or a primary residence, the traffic congestion alone, some of the worst in Florida, represents a quality of life cost that doesn't appear on any listing sheet. Add the economic dependence on an industry as volatile as tourism, the continued overdevelopment of certain corridors, and the escalating cost burden, and Orlando becomes a far more complicated proposition than its glittering skyline suggests. Miami is, without question, one of the most extraordinary cities in the Western Hemisphere. The culture, the architecture, the international energy, the food, the art, Miami offers things that no other American city can replicate. It is genuinely world-class in ways that are not exaggerated. But buying property in Miami in 2026 means confronting two realities simultaneously. The first is cost. Miami's real estate market has reached price points that place it among the most expensive housing markets in the entire United States. International investment, domestic migration, and limited supply have driven values in many Miami neighborhoods to levels that offer little margin for appreciation and significant risk of loss in a downturn. The second reality is water. Miami sits at an average elevation of only a few feet above sea level. The scientific community is not ambiguous about what this means going forward. Sea level rise, increasingly intense storm surge events, and the phenomenon known as sunny day flooding, where streets and properties flood during high tide without any storm at all, are already documented, measurable realities in Miami today. Not future projections, present realities. Insuring a Miami property adequately is expensive and in some cases becoming nearly impossible. Buying in Miami without a complete understanding of both its financial and environmental exposure is a decision that could prove profoundly costly. Cape Coral grew at a speed that is almost difficult to believe. Built on a system of canals, it became one of the fastest growing cities in America, attracting buyers with waterfront access, reasonable prices, and the promise of the Florida lifestyle. But that canal system, that very feature that made Cape Coral attractive, is also its greatest vulnerability. Cape Coral sits in a flood zone, a serious one. The canal infrastructure that defines the city's geography also means that when major storms arrive, water has limited places to go except into homes, streets, and businesses. Hurricane Ian demonstrated this in a way that left no room for debate. The flooding in Cape Coral was catastrophic. The aftermath, the rising insurance costs, the difficulty obtaining adequate coverage, the ongoing questions about long-term infrastructure sustainability in a city that expanded so rapidly, has created a housing market with genuine, serious risk factors that must be fully understood before any purchase decision is made. Cape Coral may still attract buyers, but in 2026, those buyers need to know precisely what they are walking into. And at number 1, Palm Bay. Palm Bay is not a city that dominates headlines. It doesn't carry the name recognition of Miami or Orlando. It doesn't have the tourist infrastructure of Daytona or the international profile of Tampa. It sits in Brevard County on Florida's Space Coast, and on the surface, it looks like an affordable, quiet alternative to the more expensive coastal markets. But the convergence of risk factors in Palm Bay in 2026 is what earns it this distinction. Crime rates in Palm Bay have been a persistent and growing concern, rising steadily in categories that matter deeply to families and property owners. The economic base is uneven, with income levels that make sustainable homeownership difficult for a significant portion of the population. The housing market has shown volatility that analysts have flagged as a warning signal, with price movements that reflect speculative pressure rather than stable, income-driven demand. Infrastructure investment has lagged behind population growth. Services have been strained. And the combination of these factors creates a risk profile that, taken together, makes Palm Bay the most precarious place on this list to purchase a home in 2026. It looks affordable, it looks quiet. But beneath that surface, the numbers tell a story that every potential buyer deserves to hear before they commit. Florida is not a lost cause. Let that be absolutely clear. There are cities in this state, carefully selected, thoroughly researched, strategically located, where buying a home in 2026 still makes profound sense. Where the fundamentals are solid, the risks are manageable, and the opportunity is real. But the era of buying anywhere in Florida and assuming the sunshine will cover your losses is over. Climate risk is no longer a theoretical future concern. It is a present, measurable, insurable reality that is being priced into property markets in real time. Crime statistics vary so dramatically between neighborhoods that zip codes matter more than city names. Insurance markets have been fundamentally restructured by years of storms and losses, and the costs of that restructuring fall on homeowners. The 10 cities we've examined tonight are not beyond redemption, but they are carrying burdens in 2026 that buyers deserve to understand fully before signing any agreement. Do your research, study the flood maps, read the crime statistics, talk to local residents, not real estate agents, not developers, but the people who actually live there. Understand what insurance will cost before you fall in love with a listing. And ask yourself honestly whether the price you're being offered reflects the full reality of what you're buying. Because in real estate, as in life, the most expensive mistake is the one you didn't see coming. Florida still has a future. Make sure your investment is part of it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more videos about life, housing, and real estate across the state of Florida. And remember, before you buy a home, always do your research and choose wisely. See you in the next video.